Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today I'm painting some trim. Now that sounds pretty boring, but I'm actually going to be using my airless Wagner sprayer. Got to pause for a second. When I first mentioned this sprayer, I called it an airless. For some reason I got used to calling it airless because I don't have to hook it up to my air compressor. But it's an HVLP. So that this one came out of the 590 kit and Flexio 590 or something like that. Check out the review I did on this way back and there'll be a little bit more detail on it. So anyway, just want to make that clear that it's an HVLP, not an airless. I'm using the small gun here today, and I'm just going to be spraying a acrylic, so water base. Now I just replaced the windows and the trim had to get shrunken down a little bit because it was just a little bit too big. So that means, you know, I've got some cuts and then I had to re-nail everything up. Now typically when I do trim, whether it's on a door or a window, I always paint my trim first. That way all I have to do is worry about filling the nail holes, and if I have to fill up and, you know, do a little gap seal here, you fill your holes, give it a little bit of primer, and then all you have to do is just paint the face. If you put up raw trim, then you have to worry about painting the edges. And I don't like doing that. I just like to just give it a quick spray job or a brush job, and away you go. Now I could use a brush. You know, that would be the sensible thing to do. Am I saving any time? I probably have about 20 minutes or so taping everything up, maybe a bit longer. The finish will always be better when you spray it. And just because all these little whoop-de-doos, there are a lot of contours here, it makes it difficult to use a brush, I find. I'm not a professional painter by any means. I made my life spraying, not brushing stuff on. So I've always wanted to do this, so that is what I'm gonna do. Anyway, everything's all prepped up. I've got to do some more plastic here yet. Of course, the most important is on the floor because anything's gonna settle, it's gonna come down. So I'll get that all done and then we'll fire up the gun. Now I'm using automotive paper here and automotive plastic. That's just because I've got lots of it. Now, this automotive plastic, I really like it because if you spray on the right side, the overspray sticks to it. So if you're using regular plastic, make sure you take it off fairly quick after you paint, because if it does dry and it flakes off, it's going to wreck your paint job. Now this is pretty thick, so we got to thin it down, and that's okay. Probably about that much. Got 2 windows to do. Some water. Now if you want your paint to dry a little quicker, use warm water. Now, I don't really know a ratio here. I just know what it's going to look like. You know, you kind of get used to consistency of paint when you're mixing it, because every paint's a little different. Some needs 20%, some needs 15%, some needs 30%. You gotta mix it really, really well. See, that doesn't roll off the paint stick that well. So when you spray it, it's going to be a little chunky, so add just a little more. A little at a time. Yeah, that's looking good there. Now this Wagner, it'll spray a little thicker consistency paint. Now if I was using a gravity feed or a suction cup regular sprayer, my paint would have to be thinner than this yet. Gravity feed probably work, but it's pretty thick yet. Wonder if you can see that. Let's see, what would that be like? A really heavy cream, I guess. Well, let's give it a try. Remember, if it doesn't spray properly, you can always do some adjusting. If you can strain it, strain it. Cooties are not good. It's going to take a little while. It's coming good. All right, time to tack things off. Now I'm tacking everything off here. Now I put a lot of work in to get to this point. I don't want it to look dirty when I'm done. So if you don't have tack cloth, just use like a damp cloth or something like that, just to get any little bit of dust off. And make your life better. One small but easy step. Now, if this was flat trim, I would not be using the gun on this. I would actually, what I usually do is I'll thin my paint down a little bit and then just use a small roller, and you get a really nice finish by doing it that way, if it was flat. Now, this way, you can't really use a roller, you're gonna have to use a brush, and that's why we're doing it with the gun. I think we're ready. I'm gonna tack down this last one over here. And then I think we're ready for spraying. Oop, light. All right, just a couple more tips before we get going here. Now, like I said, this has all been painted before, but I used a scuff cloth and I scuffed it just because if it ain't sanded, it ain't sticking. And if you've ever done a job where, let's say you pull off a piece of trim and the paint peels away on your wall, that's because it wasn't sanded. Always carry a brush with you. This is the nice thing about doing painting like this, is you get a bit of a hanger, you just give her one of these with a brush and you probably never ever know. Wish you could do that with a car. All right, now, just a couple common sense tips. Let's pretend this is my spray gun. Like, you gotta have a ladder. If I did this, now I'm spraying up. So that means that I can get overspray up top. You wanna make sure that you just kind of stay within the zone, you know, perpendicular to where your surface is. Because if I spray like this, then I can spray and hit that wall over there. If you're not comfortable about spraying, and you want to try it, all you have to do is just tape off a little bit more. That's all you have to do. But I'm living on the edge. I think I can do it. Okay, I got about a medium setting here. We're just going to see how it shoots here. I think that's going to be fine. I'll give it a try on the bottom here. Now you only go until it shines. Just take a little look. If it doesn't shine, then it means you need a little bit more. That looks really good. Looking really good. I was just going to put one coat on. I'll let it dry and see what it looks like. And if it flashes or anything like that and misses a spot, then I'll give it another coat. Now, another tip. Go down halfway. That way you're going to be a nice even spray pattern. That looks really good. I can just see where I primed to do my nail hole, so a second coat is a must here. And now, one of the big things is this a time saver? Well, as soon as this sets up, I'm ready for another coat. So it's been 15 minutes, so I'm getting 2 coats in 15 minutes. What does it take? 2 minutes to spray it or something like that? So it's quick to paint. It's just that you have to do the tape up. Now, if you're not really too good at brushing, you're probably going to tape anyway. You know, you just have to add some paper. So this is a big time saver, and well, not a huge time saver, but a time saver. And your finish is going to be way, way better. So I'm going to grab the gun, put another coat on. Take your time when you wash out your gun. You want it perfectly clean. I'm just holding the trigger open and letting the water flow through the gun. Well, this turned out really, really good. I don't think I'll ever brush another window frame. You know, I really like the way that the sprayer, you know, the texture it leaves. You know, you don't have the brush strokes or anything like that. And, you know, it's a little bit of a pain, you know, masking everything up, but I've got 2 coats on in about half an hour, and the second coat takes quite a bit longer to dry. Now, I took this tape off as quick as I could. You know, everything's all set now. As quick as I could so that I don't peel. This is fairly fresh paint here, and there's the odd little tiny spot that I got to touch up because those things just happen when it's fresh paint. But you know, I am very, very impressed with this little gun. We're becoming friends, and I think there's more projects in the future with this little gun. But it's worth it if you want the good finish. If you're not really worried about that, you know, don't worry about it. Just use a brush. But I think, you know, and I'm going to be brutally honest here, this is the first time I've ever sprayed an inside trim. I've done lots of outside stuff, but this is the first time I ever sprayed an inside trim, simply because I was worried about the overspray. And this gun here, you can see how much overspray we had. And if I could just, you know, do a little bit of masking and spray it, I'm going to do that all day long. So there you go. This is a Steve-O approved method, and I'm really happy with it. Give it a try if you've got one, and don't worry about failing. You can always brush, you know, if you get a little bit of a run, brush it out, try again. Make this your friend. It's really working out well for me. Anyway, that's how I spray my frames, and I'm going to leave this plastic on because it'll be a couple days before I put the my shutters on, so this will kind of act as a block and nobody can look in. It'll be okay. So, till next time, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.